welcome back to the start of another season on iRacing. My name's Bart, and today I'll be taking you a Coach Dave Academy lap guide around Mugello in the FIF4 car, his hot lap. Alright, so going down the main straight at Mugello now, obviously a very, very long straight, so a while until we reach turn 1. Not much to do here. Just bring the car to the left with plenty of time to spare. Left-hand side tyres on the white line. Again, you can definitely give the curb and the runoff area on the left a bit of a go. It's legal as long as you have your, I believe, your right tyres on the curb. However, with this car, it really, or any car really, it's quite an abrasive curb, and so it upsets the car a lot under braking. And you just end up losing a lot of performance. So for me, let's stay off the curb, okay? Let's try staying off the curb. Braking reference just before this 50-meter one. So you got on the left here, we got 100 board, 50 board, and these little white lines. Always brake after the 100. 100% of the time, braking after the 100 board, okay? The 50 board, definitely braking before that. So it's somewhere like a 75, 70-meter mark. I'm always looking kind of past the 100 line. Once I know I get past that, it's how late can I push it. And this is a corner, to be honest, where being late will gain you a lot of time. So do be aware of that, because it's an uphill corner, quite a long entry really, because it's not just, you're braking until here, but you're really just slowing the car down all the way until about there. If you're braking very early, it's tricky to be fast. You don't carry a lot of speed and cause a lot of issues. So my advice, let's really try and, you can get rewarded a lot for pushing the braking here. That's the most important thing. All right, braking about 70, 75 meters. High pressure, really aggressive on the brakes, you can see here from me, but not for very long, because soon we're turning in. For the rubber marks in front of us, bleeding off down a third. Now you need to try and get into this inside curve, okay? It should be a struggle. Like, you need to be braking late enough that it's really hard to get to the white line, get to the inside curve. However, we do want to try and get in there early. If you don't kind of make it before, you can see the rubber line is it meets about here. If you're not inside the camber, you can see it banks a little bit. At this point, then you're going to struggle. If you're about half a car width further to the left, you're going to really struggle to bring the car in. So keep that in mind. Push the braking, but try and point the car in and just throw the car into the inside the corner, a bit like some corners at Zandvoort or something like that. Just try and get into the camber and carry the speed up the hill. As soon as you get off the brake, see how quickly you can get to throttle. It doesn't have to be full. It doesn't really have to be full here. Just try and carry the momentum, because say I wait a little bit there. Say I'm like, I don't feel ready to go. Like, the car's not really pointed where I want it to be for the exit yet. Okay, that's a fact. So in some cases, you can be quite critical and go, okay, Bart, you shouldn't be on throttle. It is uphill. So if you're not on throttle, the car being so low powered just stalls. Like, it's just very, very slow. You lose a lot of time. I think as well as it kind of, the track turns with you. Like, it helps turn in the car as you go up the hill. So my advice is just try and be on some throttle. As soon as you get off the brake, don't have this big coast phase, just get on some throttle, because otherwise you're just too slow here, okay? If it's not full, you can see I'm about 70%, I'm just maintaining that. Okay, now I can go to full, because now I've kind of got the car rotated. Now I can commit to full throttle, let the car run out. You shouldn't be running all the way to the left-hand side of the track. If you're running out to here, it's going to be a big struggle to bring it back here. The most important thing for me is that you get your right tires on this curb. If you can somehow get over to the left and do that, then you can do that. But priority number one is that. And then once you're getting consistently the car all the way onto that right-hand side curb on the entry to turn 2, then you can start thinking about pushing the entry at turn 1. All right. The time gain's not very big here. Remember, it's only a short gap between the exit of turn 1 and the entry of turn 2. More important to prepare this part of the track. Okay, with that in mind, braking very late, brake right near the end of the curb as we start turning in. Very soft. Try and come around the back of this second sausage curb. What I mean by that is we want to rotate the car so it's facing this way, not kind of in line with the start of this curving, but around the back of it here. Some throttle. As soon as you feel like you've got the car rotated, some throttle, maintenance throttle. Again, if you end up having a big coast phase in this car, it just upsets the car. On throttle. And you want to try and prepare this in terms of angle. You can see I've got this crack in the tarmac here, this groove where you can kind of gauge how wide you are. If you can get your right tires over to the left-hand side of it, you've done very well. Do keep in mind that if you go too slow through the left and prepare this, even if this is flat, you will lose time. So I think, especially with the hotter track temps I'm expecting this week, I think it'll be better to actually not be flat through the right. Not because it's not fast, but because you compromise it. You lose too much time in the left-hander as well. But just try and bring the car over to the left like this. You see, I have to lift a little bit. If I keep it flat, I'm going to have a big snap on the exit. Like I could be flat in the entry, and I'm going to get a lot of understeer or big snaps. So I just lift a little bit to keep the car nice and tight. The car needs to stay all over this colored curb here, right up to these sausage curbs. Then go flat. Once you feel like you got it settled, you see I'm right in the limit there of grip. And then as long as I got my right tires on this curb, I know I'm legal. All right. Very tricky start to the lap there. All right, now into this next little chicane section, this left-right here. So very similar to the first one. Try and really push the braking here. Important to be late on the brakes and late when you rotate the car. Down one gear to fourth. Just come around the back again of this sausage curb. As soon as you get off the brake, try to get some throttle. Just squeeze it on a little bit. Full now between the two. This one is not really negotiable. It should be flat. You should definitely not be lifting. You see, I have a tiny lift because I just have a little bit of a moment as the rear starts to move around there. But it really needs to be flat, okay? This right-hander here. So make sure you're preparing it so you can do that. But again, it's one of those things where this should never be easy flat. You should be carrying enough speed through this left. So it's always a challenge to take this flat. So that's always the constant, conflict you got going on there. Yes, I want to take the second one flat and I want to get that good exit, but I also need to be pushing this enough. Otherwise, I could slow right down to 50 Ks and that could be flat. But, I'm not saying air lap records that way. All right. Let the car run out. Bring the car back over the curb again. Use the curb for the entry here. Soft brake, okay? Soft and braking reference, quite tricky. You got this Marshall's Hut. It's definitely off the 100 board. You got that Marshall's Hut on the left. That's where your best reference there. You got the little service road. Always braking a few car lengths before that, about now. So looking really early, it's easy to miss this apex here. It's going to take a lot of the curb. And if you are late to this right-hander, you're in trouble, okay? Which we'll get to in a second. All right, so get the car all over this curb as much as you can here. This is okay. If you cut it too much on the grass, you do get an off track. So watch for that. Like I said, very soft on the brakes. You're not really braking here to stop the car. It's only to get it turned. So as much as you need to turn the car, just brake a little bit soft. And then as soon as you can get off the brake, just carry some throttle. You've got to be on throttle when you hit this curb just to stabilize it. That's a key with a lot of things in this car. You just got to be on the throttle when you hit the curb. Curb will rotate the car. The throttle will kind of prepare the car, relax it a bit more, make it a bit more drivable for you. And also, of course, carry some speed. Smooth on the steering. I start to feed the throttle. Now I get off the curb. Now I can go to full. And I'm about mid-track at this point. If you're further to the left, if your tires are over this line here, you're in trouble. And that's where I'm saying if you're late into that previous right-hander, you're out of position for this whole section. The time loss carries through the left and up the double right, up the hill. It's a disaster, right? So it's really important every single lap you're telling yourself, I need to get into that apex curve. Okay, I need to really pair and get over that curve at the previous right. Okay, so full throttle here. can be flat in better conditions for sure. Definitely was flat. Really tricky, I found, in these conditions, especially if you're running, quick setup. It's going to be a little bit more sketchy drive, lower wing. A small lift from me. You want to try and take it flat, ideally, but just a little bit of a lift here just to get the car hooked on this curb. Always aim to get your left tires inside the multicolored curb on this green bit of Astro here, and then see it hooks the car up. I find if you run the left tire over the curb, that's the easiest way to spin. Okay. It's the easiest way to unsell the car is you're just running on the bumpier curb with your tires, and that's how you get a big moment down the hill. You'll get it hooked up on this curb, keep it on that, and that'll keep rotating the car. Then be flat when you come off the full throttle. Let the car run out. Don't run out too far wide. You don't want your right tires to run over the curb, otherwise you'll be in trouble. You won't be able to get back in time, and you may get an off track. Aim to get your left tires back to the white line in the first half of this curb here. Then slowly, smoothly turning in. The earlier you get there, the smoother you can be with this turn. And if you're a bit late, you might turn aggressively, and you'll find that the front just slides when you turn in because you're being too aggressive on the wheel. So be very smooth. This is all flat out, but it's really important to be smooth on the wheel. Nicely bring the car into the inside curb here. Just kiss the white line. At this point, don't really want to strike the curb. Again, you see on the wheel, I'm just trying to be smooth. The car's going to move around a bit here, just to be smooth. Control the car, let it run out. Left tires on this curb. Again, you can legally run out there, and on a GT car, I'd recommend it. In this, not very good, because basically this curb upsets the car a lot when you go to brake in here, and running over the curb also slows the car down a bit. So I prefer just left tires on this curbing here. Use that curbing and then try and delay your turn in there. Widen up the corner as much as possible. So make sure you stay on the curb. Don't turn off the curb. And if you don't push this right enough, you'll end up too narrow here, and you'll make the entry harder here. So make sure, like I said, left tires all over this curb. Don't go over it though. Smooth on the steering. Again, you can try and hook the car on the inside here. I don't think you need it to turn in. It's still flat without it. I'd rather you turn a bit later, be smoother on the wheel, and just kiss the inside curb like this. Just kind of kiss the edge of it rather than taking the high side. It just picks up the car, I find, and could get some inside wheel spin or just slide the car. Can be fast, but I think it's slower and less consistent. All right. Smooth on the steering, let the car right down here. Again, this is legal as long as you have your right tires on the curb. Bring the car back over the curb so you don't just lose time. You can use the left-hand side curb under brakes. I found it really inconsistent. You can see I'm just running my left-hand side tires on it. Again, you can use all of it. It does help widen up the entry, but it's very, very bumpy and unstable. So you can choose. There's advantages to both. I ended up preferring just kind of running the edge of the curb. All right. Braking nice and hard, but late. This downhill right, you have to be very late on the brakes. I promise you, if you brake early, you'll lose a lot of time. You have to push the braking here because it helps us prepare the next section, okay? Carrying speed and getting on the throttle early at this corner does not give you much lap time. It hurts you for push the braking, okay? All right, so brake late. Again, reference-wise, you can be a bit lost here. You got a 100-meter board somewhere out there on the left, a bit hard to see. You got the service road, but always braking after that. You got a white bit of the barrier there. You've really just got to judge it based on distance. You can use the 100 board if you want, but best thing to do here is just look into the apex and just judge it based off practice and laps and laps and laps. Again, heavy brake, not for very long. Jump off the brake. Very similar to some of the corners that are in the lap. We have a lot of these switchback left, right, right, lefts going on here. Important just to come around the back of the sausage curve again, because that's kind of what's stopping us from getting in earlier. Get on throttle now. For me, if you're really pushing the braking here, you should be able to go straight onto throttle. As soon as you drop the brake, you should be able to get straight to throttle. If that's not the case, then you're probably braking quite early there. The other thing you'll find is you'll probably end up getting pushed out. You don't want to be pushed very wide here. We're trying to keep the car in tight. This curb does unfortunately upset the car a little bit on throttle, which we'll see in a second. But that's kind of just the way we have to take it here. The other thing as well is if you're not on a decent amount of throttle, if you're only on a little bit of throttle, you will actually struggle with the rear here. You have to go more throttle to settle the rear more when you're on that exit curb. So make sure you are fairly aggressive with that throttle application. Okay, so you can see I've prepped the car here almost all the way over to the right-hand side of the track. This is going to allow me to take the next left pretty much flat. Still a very small lift, like a micro lift there, just because, again, the car's on the edge, it's moving around. We just missed that sausage curb there. Let the car run out. Going to be super smooth on the steering. Very easy to lose the car here. If you're having a moment, either the car's pushing on or it's getting these snap going on the exit, my recommendation is brake later here and prepare more here, yeah? You need to kind of keep the car further to the right-hand side on this section of the track. Okay, and that's by pushing the entry into here. Brake early, get on throttle early, you'll be stuck out here. So keep that in mind because you'll get hurt for it on the exit, this left-hander. Okay, let the car out, bring the car back over to the left-hand side, get back. All right, so here you can use this AstroTurf. I believe previously here I've said maybe no, don't use it. You don't really want to brake on it, but it does help you open up the corner a little bit. So what I've been doing is running the left-hand side of the car over the curb, pointing the car in, and then braking just as I come off it. This is tricky. This is too difficult for you. Just don't use the curbing, really, would be my advice, or use a little bit of the curb. But if you want to be really quick, get over to the left nice and early. So you see 100-meter board, right tires over the white line, point the car in. In this way, I'm just trying to open up the corner more and trying to be straight under braking. It's important to be straight when we hit the brakes. Try and point the car that way down the hill. That's my advice. I don't want to be pointing that way. I don't want to be pointing that way. I want to be pointing that way. Yep. So we can try and get our line right, brake in a straight line, open up the corner as much as possible. And also we want to be braking off the curb, which we'll get to in a second. See, just hitting my peak pressure as I get off the curbing. So very tricky to manage there, but that's all part of it. In terms of where to brake, you're braking just at this 50-meter board, just at it there where that white line is. It's probably going to feel like braking after it because quite often when we think we brake somewhere, we actually brake before it. So try and push your brake into the, try and push yourself to brake later and later here. You might struggle a lot with locking up the brakes. That's normal. Doing this preparation will help you because the wheel will be straighter. Wheel's straighter, then you're a lot less likely to lose tires. Okay, look, my wheel's dead straight. That's why I can hit brake pressure. I feel like I can't do it, but I can't do it. I'm locking. Get the wheel straight, okay? If you're turning the wheel, you're giving the tire too much work to do, okay? Try and get the wheel straight. And then as we go through this braking zone, you're going to see in a second, the track drops away from you, especially on the right-hand side. That means, again, it's just unloading the tires, taking grip away. We have to adjust for that. So hit the brakes fairly hard. That medium hit there, 50, 60%. Okay, start to bleed out. As soon as I'm dropping down the hill now, I have to bleed out the brakes. I'm trying to not turn in much here. I kind of have to, just the shape of the corner, but because I did a really good job preparing the car on the entry, I don't have to do much steering. Okay, down to third, and now I turn. Okay, so really we want to try and get that braking done before we rotate the car. Let the car run in here, third gear, off the brake, and getting to throttle almost straight away. It's really tricky here. It's such a long corner. And for me, the later you can be on the brakes in this corner, the faster you'll be pretty much, as long as you're not running out past the rubber where I am here. If you try and keep the car in tight and still push the braking, that's really impressive. And that'll gain you a lot of lap time. You don't want to be waiting around for long. Okay, you want to try and get to throttle nice and early. And the best way to do that is by braking all the way in, trail braking in. But you can only do that if you prepare the car right in the end. All right. So on throttle now. Get the car. Should be tucked up to the inside curb, let the car run out, smooth on the wheel, don't just crank the lock on. If you're having understeer in this car, please don't crank the lock on. It just kills time and you'll overheat tires, so don't do that. Just try and adjust other parts of the corner or lift out. Let the car run out. You can see I let it run out towards, you never want to be on this curb. If you're on this curb, you lose so much time on this exit because you end up having to work so hard to get back. Limit should be white line, limit. Bring the car back as much as you can there and then be smooth on the steering. You see I didn't turn super aggressively over here because it's not worth it. I too much distance and time is wasted turning right there. So I'm just going to be smooth on the wheel. Don't take this curb too much. Just lightly take it. Again here, don't be all over that curb because they just kind of hurt the momentum of the car. So just try and be smooth. You don't need to take these curves that much. Just use them a little bit to turn the car, shorten the distance. It's okay. Right here. Again, I chose not to brake on this curb. It's really unpredictable. I think you can be fast braking on this entry curb, but it's super inconsistent. So for me, don't brake. Braking, this 50-meter board is a pretty good reference. I'm usually looking into the apex, sure. But that 50-meter board in your peripheral on your right-hand side is a pretty good reference for braking just before that. Very hard short brake here, so aggressive. Hit the brake pedal hard, but not for very long. Down to fourth gear, you lock up very easily. Similar to the previous corner, the track falls away from you. You can see now the track's fairly flat, and then now it's already going downhill, kind of banking in. So that's why you have to be quick. If you hold the brakes here, you get locking very easily. You'll feel it, that kind of dragging sensation as you're braking into the corner, that locking going on. So the best thing you can do here is just try and get the braking done very efficiently initially. So a nice hard hit and then bleed off. Nice controlled bleed off there, okay? Get the car turned in, fourth gear. Again, can you try and reduce the gap between coming off the braking gear and throttle? If you can, that's really good. Tricky to do in a corner like this because it's so long. Get the car hooked up pretty close to the inside white line here. Full throttle now. Smooth on the wheel. This is probably the biggest corner on the track in terms of being smooth on the wheel will gain you lap time. If you have it, crank it. Like, I can get on throttle 4 meters early in this or something. I can carry more speed. Be full throttle. I'll have more steering lock on and I'll be slower down the straight because it just kills time having all this lock on for a long period and running all this extra distance. Here, smooth on the wheel. The car should just nicely run out to the exit curb here. You shouldn't be all over there. You'll get an off track and you lose time. So there you go. Run the straight line now. Hold the car on the right hand side of the track. Shortest run to the line, and that's a lap at Mugello. Okay, so that brings us towards the end of the video now. If you have any questions, please put them in the comment section below. And you can also find the Coach Ev Academy Discord link in the YouTube video description. My name is Bart. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next week. See ya.